Good afternoon all, this is the last one for the day. Recording this for the group just to show everyone what we got. This is the guy I've been describing to you. I call him Smashy Smashy. He is my pulverized druid, level 100. He does T100 nightmare dungeons. He does the open world with absolutely zero issues. And he's just a lot of fun to play when you're walking around in open world and can just smash once and kill half the screen and just have things blowing up. A lot of fun to play. So let's jump back to a town and I'll start taking you guys through so you can have a look at the stats and how this guy was built up. Alright, starting over with the vampiric powers. I love using Undying. I don't know, other people might want to use something else, but Undying is great for healing. Sanguine Embrace for your fortify and your critical strike chance. Resilience for the damage reduction for when you run into AOZ and T100s. Metamorphosis because, well, like I say in my other videos, if you're not using this with the Bolt's Will, you're missing out. And last but not least, the Blood Boils, which will give you an overpower every 20 seconds. And there's a few other ways that we get overpower on this for the pulverized build. You can do this with any overpower build, but it works really good with pulverized, works really good with any barbarian build that uses overpower, where you spawn these volatile blood drops, but every 20 seconds you get an overpower. Going into the next thing, we're going to gear. Now, I'm trying to minimize uniques in these things, but sometimes they're just too good and you just can't really get by it. So, number one and the first thing we go to is Disobedience. Disobedience should really be used in every build, especially if you're going into Zir for the armor. And then what you want on here is total armor, all stats, willpower is great, life on kill is great. If you can get the extra max for your, it's not called Fury, what do they call it on here? For your resource. Then that will help obviously as well, but you don't really need the max resource to bolts fills you up and you'll be fine. Even if it's every 2.5 seconds with Metamorphosis now, you'll be just fine. Insatiable Fury, which will leave you in Werebear form. Massive overpower damage, massive physical damage, and you really can't go past 65% total armor while in Werebear form. This is really, really great. Your Werebear forms also give you 3 ranks to all Werebear skills, so the ranks are really good as well. You can see I'm using rubies in all of these because your life also attributes to your overpower and you want really high overpower damage. On your gloves, you're looking for stuff like attack speed, the chance to restore resource, although we don't really have much lucky hits, so if I could change that on these gloves, I would. But for now, these are fine. Really what you're looking for is attack speed, critical strike chance, and ranks to pulverize. And your aspect, you want to use pulverize now also on earth skill so that it works really well with all the other synergies that come with earth skills. Next down we use T-Bolt's Will, self-explanatory. I'm not going to go into too much depth into this one. Next down, again, I use these for 2 reasons. One is so that you can use this aspect when you fortify your earth skills, gain 2 ranks, you get a bit extra damage. You get damage reduction while injured, and then I've gone for both movement speeds, normal one and after killing an elite, which just helps you move around the entire map and through dungeons a little bit quicker when you have that speed boost. It's a really good thing to do. I would prefer that this had maximum evade charges, but evade grants 75% movement speed for 2 seconds, and then within 3 seconds you can evade again, so it's not that bad. When it comes down to weapons, you want to stick with a 2-hander. Reason being is you get much more overpower damage. I've gone for both overpowers here. Some people go for critical strike and vulnerable and everything. That all becomes additive after a certain point. So I go for overpower just to get the overpower as high as possible. And these rolls are phenomenal. 175 overpower damage out of 189. And also a max roll on the overpower while in Werebear. Fantastic. The willpower and the all stats is huge at the rolls that I've got these on. So that really helps in the Paragon board later on, which is really, really good. And then down here, the aspect that you want is the shockwave aspect, where your pulverize will create a shockwave that travels forward, that you just saw in the gameplay a bit earlier, deals 200% of its original damage to targets in its path. Next we go to the ring. Now rings, you do want the Inexorable Will. It's a great ring and it pulls enemies to you. It works really well in Nightmare Dungeons. I've seen people go around and use other rings. This is why I've got the Retaliation ring, where if your core skills deal more damage based on Fortify, so you can get more damage out of it. You can also get other stuff like critical strike chance, maximum life, physical damage, damage reductions, and all these other things on your rings. Or you can always swap it out for Hunter's Zenith. The quick shift passive gives you extra damage. The heightened senses passive gives you extra damage reduction. What this also does will make sure that every time you use a werewolf skill, like Howl, your werebear skill costs no resource next. So you get a free pulverize. Then when you use a werebear skill, you will heal. So going back and forth between the two, this also gives you a lot of healing. Really great to use in AOZ. But outside of it, and just for the extra damage, I use this. It gives me extra critical strike chance, and it lets me do 40x multiplicative damage while I've got Fortify. Aridas, I think this is pronounced, is the other one I was talking about where it pulls enemies into you. Really good one to use because the damage is increased by 1% per point of willpower that you have. And I don't know if you can see our willpower there, but the willpower is 1150, which means when they're pulled in, you do 1,150 multiplicative damage to anyone that's pulled in, and for 5 seconds after. Really, really, really big. And then the Banished Lord's Talisman, obviously because we're doing an overpower build, it gives you overpower. That's the second form of overpower that we have. Next we go across to our Spirit Boons. I use Wariness for the damage reduction. I use Iron Feather and Scythe Talons for the critical strike chance and the maximum life. Some people prefer the attack speed. I don't really think I need the extra attack speed. The damage would be nice as well, but I want to make sure I actually get the critical strike chance before anything else, and the 30% additive isn't going to be that much of a difference. The next one down, I use Fortify when you use a defensive skill. This just helps you fortify a little bit more. We don't really have a lot of lucky hit on this build, so you're not going to get the spirit back from that. And your companions reset pretty quickly. You don't need to reset them immediately, so that's just, I don't know. I've gone for a defensive thing here. If you like otherwise, you can go for this. It will work with this build as well because you do have a companion, one. But again, lucky hit's not a huge thing in this build, so it's not always going to activate. And then for the last one, this is another form of overpower where every 20th kill will cause the next earth skill to overpower. When you're overpowering up a haul of heaps of enemies, you get 20th kills very often, which means you overpower very often. Let's go into our abilities. So in the skill tree, 2 points wherever you want, more, whatever, doesn't really matter. I don't use this skill at all. You can if you want to. I've used Earthen Bulwark for a bit of extra defense, but you can always just take those 3 points out, put them somewhere else, and you can use Maul, or you can use one of these other skills if you wanted to use them at the beginning. I then go down into Pulverize, which is our core skill that we're going to be using, rank it up all the way through, go down into Primal, which means that the enemies that are hit with it do 20% less damage for 4 seconds. Really great as a damage reduction, especially in AOZ. This helps a lot. You can go into enemies overpowered or stunned, but it's not really going to do much. I prefer the damage reduction. We then put one into Predatory Instinct just to get us down here into Iron Fur. Iron Fur will give you damage reduction. I've taken Earthen Bulwark. Like I said, you can take these points out. You can put the extra one into Maul or into any of these basic skills if you want to use a basic skill, and then put the last points in here for the extra critical strike chance. Otherwise, I use Earthen Bulwark because, one, it makes me unstoppable, which with Tibalts will give me more resource. You get a barrier, which is great for protection, and you get maximum life as Fortify, which helps you fortify, which is really, really good. I always take all the Ancestral Fortitude for non-physical resistances. As you can see, all our resistances sit at 70. On every build, I make sure that these are sitting at 70, so every build you see, I'll always have them up high. Once you've got Ancestral Fortitude, go across one more to Vigilance. This will just give you damage reduction every time you use a defensive skill, like Debilitating Roar, like Earthen Bulwark. Some people prefer, again, you can swap that over to Bloodhowl. Bloodhowl will give you, if you go down here, an extra 20 spirit. I prefer to use Earthen Bulwark to get the Unstoppable with Tibalt's Will and get the spirit that way. I'll use Debilitating Roar, especially again for AOZ, because when you use Debilitating Roar, it fortifies you, it slows your enemies, and it also means that they do 70% less damage for 4 seconds. If you're in trouble, this will help you get out of trouble. I then put a couple of points into Poison Creeper. I go 1, 1, 1 and go all the way through. So what this will do then is your critical strike chance is increased against enemies that are strangled by the Poison Creeper. It periodically jumps up every couple of seconds and it applies poison damage. And then when you activate it, it will strangle all the enemies that are within it, and it immobilizes them for 3 seconds and poisons them. We also do a little bit of a muck around with some poison stuff further down, you'll see in a second, which is why this is great to actually give you some extra damage. Coming down into the next part, we use Crushing Earth all the way through. We use Stone Guard all the way through for fortifying some damage. We use Mending so that everything that heals us more. We use Provocation so that every 16 seconds is another form of overpower. There is one more in the Paragon board which we'll look at, but it's basically just telling you that, you know, every couple of seconds you're overpowering. I use Trample as my get out of jail free card. 1 point into Trample, take it all the way down into Savage, which will just give you some spirit as you run through, so you get some extra spirit. 1 point into Neurotoxin, that's only there so that we can get to Envenom. So Envenom will give you 30% bonus critical strike damage against poison enemies, which, lo and behold, our Poison Creeper does. I then go down into Petrify. Petrify is great to use. You don't have to go all the way through. I have, because I don't really have points that I want to put anywhere else for now. But Petrify is a great skill, and it'll pull everyone in, and then your ring will start, which is the 1100% multiplicative damage that we've got. I have 1 in Defiance, which just gives us some extra stuff to Nature Magic skills, which will go through. Now, this is another place you can put extra points if you want to. So you can actually take the points out of Earthen Bulwark, and like I said, use Maul. Put the extra points down here into Defiance, and then you can also go up into Circle of Life, but you don't have to. This is just a little bit of extra damage. This is just something extra to have just in case. And if you're using Hunter Zenith, these will max out as well. So your quick shift will go to 30, from 15 to 30 increased damage, and your damage reduction will go from 12 to, I believe it's 18. It might go to 21, but you'll get the damage reduction on that as well. And then I finish off with Ursine Strength, which, again, while you're healthy, you deal more damage, more overpower, and you do more maximum life while in Werebear form, and for 3 seconds after leaving. With Insatiable Fury, we're in Werebear form all the time. And going over to the Paragon board. Now, the Paragon board, again, like all the others, I've squeezed every last bit out. This has got 6 boards in there. I've managed to squeeze 6 in, which has been really, really good, and you'll see how we've done that. On the first one here, you're going to put Earth and Sky. You only need 40 willpower to activate it, and all the magic nodes over here will give you all your resistances. We'll give you the extra dexterity for the points that we need later. We'll give you some extra damage over here. Next board that we go up into is the Earthen Devastation board. So you can see where the bonuses are here. I haven't fought to get that higher. I've just gone here because it's 20x on your damage, which is great. Come down to the right to get resistance and damage reduction taken over time. Come over to the left here for your Oppress, which is damage to crowd control and 15% critical strike damage. Come straight up through the middle on the resistances. Come out to the right over here for Earthen Power for critical strike damage. And throw in Exploit. Then we go to board number 3, we come over this way and we take the Survival Instinct board. So here, as you and your enemy have a bigger and bigger difference between you and their health, you do more and more damage, up to 50x. We come into the board and go straight up, go into Ursine, which will give us Werebear skill damage and overpower damage. I've got the Tears of Blood glyph here, and the reason I've done that is because it will give me more total armor while in Werebear form, and damage while in Werebear form, with Battle-Worn Hide and with Grizzly. So you can see that that's actually going to make us a little bit tankier. Down the bottom, we come out here for the Fortify Gen and the damage reduction for Bulwark. Coming over here, we go 50% damage to healthy enemies, so you start the fight a lot stronger, hitting enemies for harder. You can take these points out. I haven't done it just because I'm quite happy with the Fortify generation and damage reduction. It's always good for the extra damage reduction. Next board is Constricting Tendrils. We're not going for the legendary node, we're just going straight through and putting Fang and Claw in here, maxing it to the 40 willpower and just taking out the Nature Magic skill damage and the maximum life here. And then we finish up the top with Inner Beast. Again, we don't take the legendary node, we get the maximum life here, which helps with the overpower, and a little bit of armor helps too. We come up with the more armor here through Determination. In here we're going to throw Dominate, and then just get enough to get it over into the bonus requirement as well, and you'll see we get 230% overpower damage through that, and we come up here just for the shape-shifting skill damage as well. So you'll notice that as I go across all of these, we have all the bonuses on all of these as well. 530 out of 530 intelligence, 551 out of 540 dexterity. All of these, we've got all the bonuses, which is why we've gone a certain way. And we finish up with the last few points into Ancestral Guidance. This is what really brings the build on board at the end of it when you get here, because when you spend Spirit, you do more damage, but you also have maximum Spirit and Spirit on kill in this last board. We're not going to get to 630 intelligence, no matter how hard we try, but, you know, we tried to get as close as we could. We're 100 off. This will give you maximum Spirit and Spirit on kill, and that just helps to build out a little bit more. So that's the last board that we go into there. So that's the build. That's what it looks like. I'll have the usual links and everything in there. We did just have a run out, but I'll show you again. And I might even do a little bit of a live stream with this later, so you can see this in a tier 100. If we do end up doing that, and we do end up having a tier 100 run with this, I will obviously just put a link down in the description so you can see that. Bunch of enemies up here. I mean, this is like one hit kill for pretty much anything. What you're seeing out here in the overworld, you'll see that exact same thing in tier 100s. We're doing millions of damage every time we pulverize. Nothing really stands a chance. All you got to do is just walk through, and when you see enemies ahead, pulverize out to them. Your armor is huge. We've made sure that we keep our armor really, really high with this build, which also helps. You would have seen it while we were in town that it was only sitting at 8,000 and wondering why it's only at 8,000. Well, once we finish just pulverizing all of this and getting all of that done, okay, you'll notice that our armor goes up to 14,000 with Disobedience, and we've got an attack power of 39 and life of 21. So you do get very, very, very high up in everything when you're out in the world. And being in Werebear form, that 65% that we get with Insatiable Fury is huge, absolutely huge. You'll notice that no matter where we go, no matter what we do, we're just basically destroying everything. Very good build, very fun build to be using. And if you're doing it right, not much is going to stand in your way. Even in AOZ, you basically save this for right at the end and just drag everyone in, especially when you're versing the last 3 Seekers. You just drag them in, hit them a couple of times, and they usually die within 2 or 3 pulverizers. So the Seekers aren't much trouble either. You should easily get to AOZ 5, AOZ 6, maybe even 7 or 8 with this build as it is. I do have another variation of this that I use for higher levels of AOZ. I've taken this build up to a level 12. It's not easy, but it can be done. So that's the build, guys. Let me know your thoughts. As always, leave a comment, anything you want to add, anything that's new, anything you'd like to see changed. If you need help with your own build, or if you're trying a different version of this and you want just some help trying to figure out how to make it work properly, I'm more than happy to give you guys a hand. I mean, a lot of the Diablo groups on Facebook, you'll find me in a number of them. And like, subscribe, and do all the other fancy stuff that helps the algorithm tell us that you like what you're watching. If you'd like to see these videos done in a different way, if you'd like to see us explain things in a different way or more in depth, you're more than welcome to ask that too. I've done that a couple times before to send individual videos to people. I might even start posting those to YouTube, where people have asked for help. We've given them help on their builds, and then just send them a video directly to them in a DM, just to let them know how to help their builds out. If you don't mind us doing that and throwing that build up on YouTube, we'd love to be able to help out the rest of the community as well. So that's it from us. We'll see you the next time.